Welcome everybody to the Dynasty stock market with Biggs and Beery. I am Biggs. He is Beery. How you doing today?
Living the dream, my man. Have a day off from the bar today, so it means we're talking some fantasy football, getting back to the gym, so I'm feeling a little sore, but like I said, ready to chop it up.
Yes, it's a good idea, and let's. We got some things to talk about today. We're going to be doing stock watch. We're going to be talking about a specific player and what's happening with their value. We're going to talk about some market trends, players up, players down. We got the rookie report. We're talking about some rookies, you guys, and also we have the commissioner's corner, which is kind of like the debut of that. If you commission a league, go ahead and throw some questions in the Q&A, and we will talk about that, answer whatever we can. It's just going to be a casual show today, and we got some new videos and stuff. So let's get to the intro. All right. And we're live. All right. We got comments popping off already. Hey, guys. Hey, Jamie.
Jamie, hey, the most loyal listener in the world. Good to see you, my friend, after a long time. Back to my weekly dose of Jamie. Happy for it. Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah, it's been a rough week. Okay, so Saturday was my Scott Fishbowl live draft. Hopefully all of you guys out there are able to play. It's just an incredible event. And this last week has been just absolutely nuts. I was doing on my other channel, I was doing all kinds of like mock drafting and everything. And then we had the first 10 rounds, 11 rounds of the draft on Saturday. We just finished up within the hour. I took my last pick, Malik Washington, in the 22nd round. There is punt and kick return scoring in the Scott Fishbowl this year. And I'm hoping that Malik Washington, who I'm high on in Dynasty, by the way, is able to jump Braxton Berrios for that kick return and get some time on the field as well amongst Jaden Waddle and Tyreek Hill. But yeah, he finished it out for me. Looking for that 22nd round upside.
Where am I at right now? I believe I am in round 16 right now. I'm pretty happy with my team so far.
Nice.
I got a lot, I got the good player profiler team here. I got Blake Corum. I got him late too in the 12th round. Jalen Wright, Terry McLaurin, George Pickens. Yeah, like I said, Matt Kelly would be proud.
Love George Pickens, and we will be talking about him on future shows. Absolutely. Well, let's get to the first segment. We're going to do Stock Watch. So I have a little video. You see Jaden Daniels and Michael Pittman there, and we're not going to be talking about those guys. They're just in the thumbnail. And I do want to give a huge shout out for the video. I guess that's our theme song now. But Foxworth 07, Brittany Foxworth at Player Profiler News Desk, or Player Profiler in general, put that video together for us. And the intro video, and then I took the music and added the thumbnail. Anyway, so the guy I want to talk about real quick, I am actually wearing a Raiders hat. That was not intentional. I am a Raiders fan. Excuse me, as you can see. And I want to talk about Davante Adams for a little bit because he's in the Receiver Show over on Netflix, and he's been the target of some trade-ish rumors over the last week. It was Aaron Rodgers was at a golf tournament and said that he plans on playing with Davante Adams in the future. I think he was talking about golf, but that's just me. So I've been kind of like keeping an eye on Davante Adams and what's happening to him in the Dynasty streets. And over the last 30 days, Davante Adams' stock is down 30%. He's being sandwiched between Jaden Reed and Xavier Worthy I mean, a couple of really young up and comers, and then he's just ahead of a guy I really like, Lad McConkey, hashtag Dads for Lad, and Mike Evans, another guy that I really like. He's about 7 months older than Mike Evans, and they're both kind of dependable wide receiver ones, but still, Davante Adams, despite his stock being on the downfall, I am absolutely in on him again this season. At least another go. At least another go. Last year, from weeks 14 through 18, the last 5 weeks of the season, and remember the tumultuousness of the Raiders team last year. Jimmy Garoppolo was awful. On that receiver show, you see how many times Garoppolo just couldn't even get the ball to Davante Adams. We know Davante Adams is a very crisp route runner, and he's always going to be in the position that he needs to be. And Garoppolo just couldn't find him. He wound up being wide receiver 17, I think, over the course of the season, but he was wide receiver 7 in the last 5 weeks of the year. And that was all with Aiden O'Connell, and that's including a game against the Chiefs on Christmas Day that the Raiders won, but Davante Adams was mainly used as a decoy, and he only had 1 point in PPR. So even with that, he was still wide receiver 7 to finish out the season. You can expect more of the same this year. And if somebody is offering you a second or a third, one with which you would take Xavier Worthy or Lad McConkey, if somebody's offering you a straight up deal for Mike Evans or something like that, go ahead and take it. I'm still in on Davante Adams.
You know, when you say those names like Jaden Reed and Lad McConkey next to him in ADP, yeah, Davante Adams is still a screaming value. I did see all those video clips this week of Davante Adams lamenting Jimmy Garoppolo, just like, what, I can't be out here. I'm gonna die out. I'm gonna be in the hospital. So
yeah,
it was tough sledding for him. Jimmy put him in some bad situations. Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in the offense this year, and I was going to talk about that a little bit later on for the Raiders. Now, it's a big question mark. Antonio Pierce, defensive-minded coach, young guy, relatively speaking in coaching terms. I'm a little bit worried. Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew at the helm. But Davante Adams has dealt with far worse, like we were just talking about. So,
quarterback proof.
Exactly. I have, it's one of my biggest flaws in Dynasty. I felt like always for so long, I was always trying to beat that age cliff, trying to get out from these players a little early. And it's cost me time and time again. It's Davante Adams trade value. I'm in 30 Dynasty leagues. I'm always pretty tapped into the trade values. I mean, he's been worth, you couldn't get multiple first round picks for Davante Adams for like about 2 years now almost, or maybe a year, because of just people, they see that age 30 mark and it's just not going to happen. So Davante Adams just continuing to give you value, probably can continue to give you value for another year or two. And I would certainly take him over Jaden Reed and Lad McConkey, who we're just hoping to get us a good year or two here. So I really liked that Davante Adams pick quite a bit.
Yeah, there's one thing, and this is what I've learned over the years playing Dynasty. I also had kind of traps that I put myself in, and one of those was not drafting in startups to win now. So I was always on the side of youth when it came down to draft picks. So I waited years until Davante Adams finally became affordable for me, and so now I find that I've made trades for Davante Adams where I was not really giving up much to guys who were to teams that were playoff contenders and everything. They were very willing to unload Davante Adams for some draft picks, and so I got him all over the place. And again, I think I still get another year out of him. Who is your stock watch?
Before I jump into Drake London, Jamie had just a quick one in the chat I was going to give a shout out to.
Okay.
Cade Otton or Hunter Henry in SFB 14.
I'm all over Hunter Henry.
Me too. I was going to say that too. I had to think, I at ADP for sure, Hunter Henry, a little bit later round value, especially if Drake May gets in there. Jacoby Brissett could lean on the tight end as well. I like Hunter Henry. Yep. But Drake London, value I find very captivating right now, especially for a young receiver. A young receiver like Drake London. How old is Drake London, right? Do you know him off the top of your head by chance?
23.
23. When do you see somebody who's a wide receiver who's 23 years old where his draft ADP on Underdog and FFPC is higher than his Dynasty ADP? It's very unusual. So the guys
22. Producer just fact checked us, and it's 22. Sorry.
Oh, that's crazy to me. So insanely young guy, and the high stake drafters, the people who spend a lot of money in fantasy football, they really like Drake London this year. Now the efficiency metrics haven't been good. He's dealt with some bad quarterback play. We all know that. But Drake London, wide receiver 13, picked 25.7 in Dynasty, according to the great tools at Player Profiler, where you can quickly look up his ADP on Underdog, on FFPC, and in Dynasty. Is he undervalued in Dynasty leagues? Because if he is a top 10 wide receiver this year, like he's being drafted, especially on Underdog, he's a top 15 pick on Underdog. He is going to explode in Dynasty value. He is going to be a guy who is probably a bordering almost a top 5 wide receiver. If it, I don't draft him in that range. I'm a little bit more pessimistic, but I do think a top 15 season is certainly on the way for Drake London. So I think he's about to explode in value. And I really like his. If I was doing a startup right now, he'd be somebody I'd be circling his name.
Well, Kirk Cousins needs a Justin Jefferson, and Drake London coming out was a young early breakout, and his draft profile was pretty fantastic. He just happened to be, unfortunately, in that Arthur Smith offense for a while. And in best ball over on Underdog, I think I probably have 60 to 70% of my teams have some kind of Falcon stack with Cousins and London, maybe a Pitts or a Bijan thrown in there, even some Darnell Mooney shares. Kirk Cousins, he's a chucker, and he's shown he can do it. I love Drake London, and that's a fantastic get.
I think it's just, you were looking at the tea leaves here. I put a lot of stock in myself, but I also like to look where these guys who spend $50,000 a year playing fantasy football, I like to look where their head's at too.
Kind of. I mean, there are some guys out there that I follow on Twitter who are sharps in the betting game, and they're following what Vegas is saying, and Vegas seems to have everything dialed in. So you can do worse than tailing some of the guys that are spending money. They're career guys. All right, let's transition. We're gonna go to current market trends, and I got a little video for that too. So in the show sheet, or in our communications, we both went up first and down second. Let's go with your guy. Whose market is up right now?
I'm looking at Isaiah Pacheco, and when I'm looking at these ADP trends, I always take it at the approach of what can we learn from this. And when I look at Isaiah Pacheco, it is the classic: you trade for running backs in dynasty leagues. You don't draft them, particularly in the early rounds. I follow that strategy. I end up taking a lot of handcuffs, second string guys later on. But running backs outside of Gibbs, Hall, and Robinson, essentially every single other running back is essentially a 1-year asset. You can think of one other name here or two. Isaiah Pacheco is the RB12 in Dynasty Fantasy Football Leagues, undrafted free agent just a couple of years ago. And his ADP right now it's in the top 40 picks in Dynasty Leagues. However, that's expensive. When I look at that, I see there's Lamar Jackson in that ADP range. There's Jalen Hurts, CJ Stroud. You could get a quarterback 1 for years to come. There's Zay Flowers, Trey McBride, locked in tight end 1, locked in, wide receiver with a bright future. When Isaiah Pacheco, I like Isaiah Pacheco. He's fat. I'm a Chiefs fan, so you're going to get some Chiefs and Raiders banter on here. I have no doubt about that. He's fast and he is very powerful, but he has that very awkward running style, not great at avoiding contact. He is not going to be the Kansas City Chiefs running back 3 or 4 years down the line. At some point, the Chiefs are going to add a talented second or third round running back in that time frame. So when I look at that, I would much rather pay what is he worth in Dynasty Fantasy Football Leagues? I think you could get Isaiah Pacheco for a late first round pick at the most. I think you could get him for a second round pick and, maybe an intriguing flyer. So I'd much rather, I love Isaiah Pacheco's trade value right now. Is what I'm getting at. I love his trade value. I think he is going to be a top 10 back this season. And I think well into the top 10 backs, but his Dynasty Fantasy Football ADP is very rich for me, considering he is just a 1-year asset. So go out and trade for Isaiah Pacheco, but don't draft Isaiah Pacheco in Dynasty leagues.
And make sure that if you get Isaiah Pacheco, you go ahead and handcuff him with my guy, Deneric Prince. Similar draft profile. Late round guy, actually was paid more with his first year bonus than Isaiah Pacheco was. And the Chiefs really like him. I like him too. He showed out at the combine. I have a lot of Deneric Prince floating out there, and it's got to pay off at some point. So one of the things that we're trying to do on this show, when it comes to looking at players' markets, I mean, we can present the information to you, but it's kind of like, well, what do I do with it? Well, kind of what we're saying is when a player's stock is up, that's when you want to get the most that you can for him. When a player's stock is down, that's when you want to acquire him in the hopes that he's going to pay off. Now, this guy is somebody that hopefully you invested a lot in last year when his stock was very, very low. It's up at this point, and as well it should be. He had his third-year breakout. He's with a second-year quarterback that set the league on fire last year, and of course, I'm talking about Nico Collins. Now, Nico Collins is somebody that dealt with some injuries in his first couple of years and he didn't have great quarterback play, and it wasn't until C.J. Stroud came into the building last year that we really saw what Nico Collins can put on the field, and we all had I did, and hopefully you did too, had some kind of inkling that was the Nico Collins that we were waiting for, and he finally came out. At this point, his stock is up about 11% over the last 30 days, which means that people are starting to come into they're beginning their seasons. The Scott Fish Bowl is generally can't say that word, generally regarded as the beginning of fantasy football season. And it just started. People have been getting their invites for a couple months, and the draft started within the last few weeks. So everybody's kind of like beginning their journey. We got training camps starting today. Rookies are reporting to camp, etc. And so the Nico shares are starting to like kind of fly out there, and people want to acquire him. And Stephon Diggs is not anything to worry about in that Houston offense. Although that offense is stacked, they have a lot of hands to go around, but Nico is definitely the number one. If you are looking to move him, maximize his value right now. He's up. Go ahead and right now we're in a point in the dynasty calendar where picks aren't at their highest, but they're certainly higher than they would be if we were in the regular season. So on a range of 1 to 5, we're at about a 3 right now as far as pick values go. If your rookie draft is coming up, maybe think about trying to get up into that top 5 of the draft. Maybe grab a Caleb Williams, a Jaden Daniels, a Malik Neighbors for that Nico Collins share. See what you can do with it with that stock up.
Nico Collins, I like the sell high. It's hard. It's always hard for me to sell a young, talented wide receiver in dynasty leagues. However, if Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs are both out there this year, it's going to be tough for him to reach it. But he is locked to C.J. Stroud for a couple of years here. Stephon Diggs, despite them trading a second-round pick for him, only there this year for sure. So things could open up quickly for him, but I don't mind cashing out when he probably can't hit that top 15 ADP where he is right now.
Well, and you have to ask, he is good, and he was a league winner, and etc. last year, but is he at his ceiling? Is this the most that we can expect out of Nico Collins? And I think
tend to think so.
it is.
Yeah,
right. So if you can move up from Nico Collins, absolutely do it right now. The other thing that just struck me as kind of funny is we were talking about Davante Adams, and at this point in his career, Davante Adams was not on Nico Collins' level. So when we talk about like pinning ourselves in with in terms of somebody's value and losing out on Davante Adams over and over again, now we have somebody who he's got a better start to his career than Davante Adams did. What are we selling if we're selling Nico Collins? That's why you need to buffer what you're doing with somebody who is going to be a can't miss, a Marvin Harrison Jr., a Malik Neighbors. So be careful. Listen to us, but be careful. All right, who you got down? Who's down?
His stock is always down. Najee Harris is hated in the fantasy football community. People hate Najee Harris.
Shout out NorCal.
Oh man, listen to Theo Greminger, one of the best player profiler, talk about Najee Harris. Not one nice thing to say, but I'm here to say, fantasy football may hate Najee Harris, but the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin do not. He is the RB 25 in Dynasty right now, according to Sleeper. And if you build your Dynasty teams like I do, and by that I mean I build out, where I like to have my value in my Dynasty teams is at the wide receiver position, at the quarterback position, if it's a super flex league, and at tight end. Basically anywhere but running back. When I am assembling my fantasy football team for the year, I want this cheap starting. I'm looking for those cheap starting running backs, guys who I can spend. I can have talent out throughout the rest of my roster, and I can get points from sending a what could you get Najee Harris for right now? A late second, a contender could send their second round pick, a strong contender, like somebody who's going to certainly finish top 3 or 4 in their league. You could certainly get Najee Harris, and hey, you could maybe get a third round pick back even. So he is somebody who is going to get a lot of snaps this year, going to get a lot of carries. I think the offense is going to be better. I think with Russell Wilson at the helm, it's going, Mike Tomlin's going to find a way to get it done. He found a way to get it done with Kenny Pickett last year. I tend to think Russell Wilson's going to be a lot better than Kenny Pickett. So Najee Harris, more touchdowns. Jaylen Warren is going to be there. I think you're going to want to start them both. So I think both of them low RB2. So Najee Harris, somebody who going to be float in that RB2 flex range, you're going to give you some points. So I like Najee Harris's value right now.
Yeah, I do too. I like Jaylen Warren a little bit more, even though Najee Harris is ranked a little bit higher than him at this point. I think I would. They're pretty close in age, and they're right around the same tier. Some of the guys that I see around Najee, Tony Pollard is a couple ADP higher. I would rather have Najee Harris. He reminds me a lot of David Montgomery, and they're similarly ranked. Alvin Kamara is right there too. And when is the age cliff going to hit him? Zamir White, Tyjae Spears, and Brian Robinson. I feel like I would rather have any of those guys than Najee, and then Jaylen Warren is sitting there too. So yeah, for the right price, Najee. I mean, if he's going to bring you back wider or RB2 value, it's buy him low.
I think you can. That's like I said. Maybe try a third round pick. Send a third round pick. Maybe two third round picks. I bet it gets it done. And yeah, those are the type of guys I'm searching for. Zach Moss. Although Zach Moss has some steam to it. Like I said, you can't find. The reason I highlighted him is you cannot find a more hated. People just want to get Najee Harris off their roster.
Yeah, and Jamie checking in with Roshan Johnson. Love him. Talked about him on my redraft show that I just recorded an hour ago, and he's an absolute redraft stash for me.
Okay. But you're talking to Jamie here. Okay. Do you know what Jamie did last year? Jamie, his first round pick in Scott Fish Bowl 13 last year was Roshan Johnson in the first round. Okay, so that's who you're talking to here. Just so you know. So you're speaking to the Roschon Johnson. I said this last year during podcast. Roschon Johnson's own mother doesn't love him as much as Jamie does. So keep that in mind.
Sounds like me and Deneric Prince. Let me see. For the viewers, we should have some music or something. I'm gonna see where. Oh, stop it.
You play DJ?
No, I'm trying to find my fishbowl draft, my SFB 13 draft, and there it is. Okay, I took Roschon Johnson.
I'm hoping to get him in my draft as well. So I have a pick, and I think in the 17th round, I'm hoping to grab snag Roschon. He's still on the board.
I didn't have Roschon Johnson. I totally thought I did. Deneric Prince, 21st round pick. So there you go. But I do love him. I have him in my home league. All right, my player whose draft stock is down right now, and it's sad for me because we share a town of birth. He is the second best football player ever born in Novato, California. Jared Goff, similar to Nico, he only flipped. His stock is down 11%. This is baffling to me. Absolutely baffling. You have a guy who's in one of the highest production offenses in the entire league. He definitely has the weapons that he needs. He's got the system that he needs, and he is an upper echelon quarterback, at least somewhere in the top 10. He's going to throw for over 4,000 yards this year. He's going to throw for over 30 touchdowns this year. Jared Goff is a smash play with his value down. Go get him because he is going to do you right, especially if you have a running quarterback in your QB1 position and you're running Jared Goff out of the superflex spot. There's no reason not to roster Jared Goff. And if people are starting to like sour on him a little bit, maybe it's because of the steam of Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels that Goff's getting pushed down a little bit. Maybe people are banking on CJ Stroud to outplay his rookie year. Go buy Jared Goff. It's crazy to me.
I tend to think it's what you said there. I think there's guys like Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels being steamed up. I think that's probably where the Jared Goff ADP is going slightly down. Jared Goff is, despite he might be a good-looking guy, but he's not the most sexiest quarterback as far in the fantasy football landscape goes.
He's not even a good-looking guy. He outkicked his coverage on that one.
He's not a running quarterback. He's not going to get it done that way, but the pro style quarterbacks get it done when these are the type of years when Jared Goff is going to get it done. When the stars align, and the stars are aligned in Detroit, possibly the best offensive line in the entire NFL. And that's what Jared Goff needs, is a strong offensive line. He has the weapons. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like Jameson Williams, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery. It is aligning for Jared Goff to have a very good season. He's a top 12 quarterback this year, in my opinion. And you know what you're talking? I've been hammering Jared Goff for years, for last 2 years now. It's been like draft Jared Goff. It's just like he's at the back end of drafts, and it's such an easy pick. Finally getting steamed up a little bit, but still a very good value pick.
Yeah. One of the things that we find ourselves dealing with is the narrative versus analytics. So another way to say it is the signal versus the noise. And the whole LA Rams debacle with Jared Goff, and then them trading him away to bring Matt Stafford in, and then Matt Stafford winning a Super Bowl that Jared Goff couldn't do. There were some things about that. If you go and you compare their statistics in their Super Bowl years when Goff was absolutely undressed by the New England Patriots, which was a Bill Belichick defense, and he knew exactly what the Rams were going to be doing the whole time. It was a slugfest defensive showcase. Great Super Bowl to watch if you get a chance to go back and rewatch it, because both defenses were on point. But that season, the defense, or that Super Bowl, the defense that Jared Goff went up against was not even near the defense that that Stafford saw in the Bengals. The Bengals that year were like ranked in the mid-teens as a defense, and that Patriots defense was like top 5. So Goff had a harder road ahead of him, but their season was almost identical. It was like 4,200 yards and 30 touchdowns and like few interceptions. I think Goff even threw fewer interceptions. So essentially they were the same quarterback. It's just Matt Stafford benefited from a better defense and facing a lesser defense. Jared Goff easily, if he had stuck around in LA that year, he easily could have won that Super Bowl. And if the Lions can get it together and overcome the 49ers hump, there's a possibility they could be the NFC representative this year too. They're that good. So we got some bills to pay. Let me go ahead and find this. We're talking about the Dynasty Dominator. This is a fantastic product, and Matt Kelly is here to tell you all about it. And we will be back on the other side with our rookie report. So you want to stay tuned for those rookie insights. Here we go.
Now, I know many of you are looking for a secret weapon for your Dynasty League, and I have it. It's called the Dynasty Dominator app. You go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's right there. It's $5 to download, and then every year it's $5 to load the next incoming class of rookies. You can add Superflex, add tight end premium. It's incredible because it allows you to look up players. It allows you to vote on whether a player is a buy, hold, or sell, and then see the market sentiment on that player. And you can compare their lifetime value rating from Player Profiler to their Dynasty ADP at the FFPC, all in the price lookup tool. And beyond that, we have a trade analyzer, so you'll never lose another Dynasty trade again. And in our settings, you can set this is a win now team, this is a rebuilding team, and then we let you compare players. Look at their metrics side by side, prospect metrics, NFL metrics. It's all there. It's $5 in the App Store. There's some add-ons for Superflex and to buy the upcoming rookie class. Every year, you're going to spend $5 on this thing, and it's going to be well worth it.
Well worth it. I love that. I would like to not ever lose a Dynasty trade ever again. How's that sound to you?
It sounds pretty good to me. I'm always confident in myself, but then I look back over the years, and then it's just like, oof, you know. I remember when I thought Evan Ingram was going to be like the guy. Like it was after his like rookie year, I think. Like I thought, you know, he's phenom. It was 2-point tight end catch premium, you know, so it's ultra tight end premium. And I traded Evan Ingram. I traded Lamar Jackson straight up for Evan Ingram. This was 5 or 6 years ago, you know, but it's just like, oh, that one hurt. Ooh.
Well, if you had the Dynasty Dominator, it might have told you not to do that.
Yeah, might have told me not to do that.
I'm when we get off here, I'm going to run a trade offer through the Dynasty Dominator. I was offered my Dameon Pierce a 2025 4th round pick and a 2026 4th and a 2026 5th. And I mean, I have Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker. I've got a good Roshan. I've got a fairly good stable of running backs. And Pierce isn't it, but I don't think those late round picks are either.
No, I might take a swing on Pierce, especially if you needed the running back depth.
Yeah, you know, it's like it's a home league. It's a 10-team single quarterback league. So I mean, values are wonky compared to like what everyone else is playing. But I think I'm going to decline it. I'm going to run it through the Dominator before I do that, though. All right, it's time for where'd it go? Rick, dang it.
You know,
did I make a video?
Hey, you know, yeah, I appreciate you making all those. Yeah, we're gonna work through. Well, yeah, you got to work through the kinks. Only the second show. You got to find where everything's at. Everything just got created.
All right, it's time for the rookie report.
Yeah. Here we go.
So, the first rookie I want to talk about, and it's a stock down. I'm talking about Ricky Pearsall. Now, Pearsall and Jacob Cowing are 2 wide receivers that were drafted by the San Francisco 49ers this season. And one of them, when he runs routes when you watch video of him, when you check out the film, one of them looks like he's slick as chicken grease, and that's Jacob Cowing. The other one looks like he's a marionette being plodded down the gridiron, and that's Ricky Pearsall. I know a lot of people really, really loved Ricky Pearsall coming out, and he got the draft capital in that offense. And Brandon Ayuk is being rumored, well, he has asked the 49ers to trade him, which is going to leave a spot open for one of those two guys, unless it's, a trade to the Titans for Treylon Burks or, something like that. Please. But it's going to leave a spot open for one of those two guys to ascend. My guess is that Jacob Cowing is going to outplay Ricky Pearsall. He's just a really, really good slot receiver, create separation. He's very small. He's 5'8", 171 or something like that. So he may not have the durability, but he does absolutely have the Tank Dell level skill as a route runner, and he's going to be open for Brock Purdy. Not a lot of people know, but Brock Purdy, number 2 in fantasy points per dropback in the NFL last year. So he's getting it done with his arm, and he's not just a game manager. And Jacob Cowing, not Ricky Pearsall, could be the beneficiary of that. And Ricky Pearsall is also dealing with an injury entering training camp. So his stock over the last 30 days is down about 15%. It is not time to buy on Ricky Pearsall. It is time to avoid him in your rookie drafts. I don't like it at all. I'm so out on Ricky Pearsall. It's not even funny.
It's been that's a dangerous range these last couple of years where he went. We've seen some big busts there. I'm not in on Ricky Pearsall. I do think that the 49ers are going to hold on to Brandon Ayuk at least this season. Keep the band together one more year, and there's just no room for him. Even if he was good, I wasn't the biggest Ricky Pearsall fan before the draft. I did like the draft capital, but one of the guys I'm definitely not targeting because I think his value is not, it's going to be lower in 3 or 4 months when he hasn't done much than when it is right now.
Yeah. Real quickly, Jamie popped in with offer Damian Pearson a 5th for a 2025 third. Well, here's the thing. He doesn't have a 2025 third. He is offering me half of his draft picks he has 6 draft picks in total over the next 3 seasons. That's with our 24 rookie draft coming up, the 25 rookie draft, and the 26 rookie draft. We have 5 rounds. He started with 15 total picks. He's down to 6. He's offering half of those to me. That would leave him with the 101 this year, a second rounder this year, and 1 pick in 2025. Of course, he's coming off a championship, so what does he care about picks? Anyway, I'm the one with all the young players. He's the one I have all of the young players and picks. He has the championship.
He has the championship. I like that.
All right, he has the rings? Who do you have for your first rookie report?
So I was taking this in the Scott Fishbowl lens, and I was looking through my Scott Fishbowl draft, and I was looking at the rookies that were steamed up. And Brock Bowers, tight end 8. This is a premium format, of course, the Scott Fishbowl. But man, I thought that was a little pricey. It's a little pricey. I think he goes in the tight end 10 most of the time. Obviously, his dynasty value is very, very high. Somewhere in the top 3. But Brock Bowers, I love Brock Bowers. I think he's going to do great things for your Raiders. But I'm just a little bit worried at that ADP. There's a few spots too high and about a round and a half, a little bit too early for me. Michael Mayer's there. I liked Michael Mayer last year, of course. Who didn't? He was ultra productive. Ultra. His college dominator of tight end was ridiculous. Especially considering you don't see those kind of dominator ratings from anybody that isn't like at a Division II school. A tight end who's there just getting all the targets. So I think Michael Mayer certainly a lot bigger frame than Brock Bowers. Could be out. I'm expecting them to deploy a lot of two tight end sets out there, but Michael Mayer is going to be out there quite a bit. So considering that, with Davante Adams, I think Aiden O'Connell and Gardner Minshew are going to give Davante Adams the targets he deserves. How much is that going to leave left for Brock Bowers? I think he's going to have some big games this year. I don't anticipate his dynasty value dropping quite a bit because I think he's going to flash that talent, but I don't think this is the year for Brock Bowers. So I thought that was a little steep for me, tight end 8 in my personal Scott Fishbowl draft.
Yeah, I'm torn. I'm really torn. The situation is not ideal. It is a Luke Getsy offense. And if we think back, DJ Moore garnered 136 targets last year. Davante Adams was in the 160 range. So he's going to see his target share likely go down a little bit. Plus, Jacoby Myers is a better slot receiver than anybody that the Bears had. And Michael Mayer and Brock Bowers. Now, let's talk about them for a second. Over the last 5 years, though, they are the 2 best tight ends in college football. The only reason that Michael Mayer wasn't the best tight end in college football his last 2 years were because Brock Bowers was there. Brock Bowers hit the scene as a freshman, and everybody saw him in the national championship game and said, I'm drafting him in the first round of my rookie draft. I talked earlier about my home league. It's a very small league, 10 teams, whatever. I have the 2nd and 3rd picks in this rookie draft, and I'm using one of them on Brock Bowers. It's a dynasty play, absolutely. I was watching the Raiders preview on Bootleg Football. If you're a fan of Brett Coleman, he is an absolute NFL sharp. He was talking about the tight end situation in Las Vegas. I almost said Oakland, and with the Raiders. And he is absolutely in on Michael Mayer at his ADP of like 35.
I would be too.
Because what you're going to see is a team that's using 12 personnel a lot, Brock Bowers as a big slot, Michael Mayer lining up in line, chip block, then go out into short routes, and he's going to shine. Is he going to get 90 targets? No. But he's going to be able to put some games together where he at least scores a touchdown. Now, Brock Bowers, he's going to perform better because his route tree is going to be longer. He's going to get those third down and long plays in the middle of the field that Michael Mayer is not going to be able to get. So obviously, Brock Bowers is higher than Michael Mayer in value. But just like the Jalen Warren and Najee Harris situation, if you're looking at the tight end position and wanting to like carry both of them, it wouldn't be a bad idea, especially if an injury happens to one of them. And I mean, we can't predict injuries, but you kind of have to account for the what ifs in this world. I am not listening to value on Brock Bowers. I'm just taking him. One of the reasons. So when you break down the analytics of this rookie wide receiver class, Brock Bowers would have been the wide receiver 4 if that was his position designation. That's not too bad.
Nope.
All right. I'm going to talk for a second about Luke McCaffrey. Now here's a guy. McCaffrey finds himself in a situation in Washington where he's got Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is a chucker. Curtis Samuel is out. Somebody needs to play the slot. He's got Terry McLaurin. That's a good offset. Ben Sinnott might make a play as a cromulent, like rosterable tight end, with Zach Ertz being there and Ertz being Hurts. But McCaffrey is an interesting story. He is the son of a 2-time Super Bowl winner, Ed McCaffrey, who was a fantastic receiver for the Broncos and the 49ers. So he's got that bloodline. On top of that, he's the younger brother, of course, of Christian McCaffrey, who is the consensus RB1 over the last 2 or 3 years. The thing about McCaffrey is that he's more athletic than Christian McCaffrey, and he's bigger than Christian McCaffrey, which is one of the reasons why he's playing wide receiver. But he hasn't been playing wide receiver for very long. he started out as a quarterback in college. He's a recent convert to wide receiver. So he doesn't exactly have the total reps that other wide receivers might have. Does that mean that it might take him a little bit longer to like learn the NFL game? I don't think so. I think he's in a position, having the work ethic shown to him by his father, who's a Super Bowl champion. It's not like he's spending his days on the couch eating chips and watching Receiver on Netflix. I don't know who would do that. I don't like chips. It's not me. But he's out there running routes. He's out there reading the playbook. He is going to be getting it done, and he is an absolute value. I think a lot of people agree with me. His stock over the last 30 days is up 26%. That means people are starting to buy in on him because he has the opportunity to come out of the gate as the number 2 receiver in that Washington Commanders offense. And I'm looking at Luke McCaffrey as a 3rd round pick in my rookie draft, or maybe even the 4th round. I'm looking to trade back in my drafts so that I give up maybe a 2nd for a couple 3rds and grab McCaffrey with it. It's a deep receiver class, and McCaffrey his value has been suppressed, and it shouldn't be. He is going to outperform his ADP in rookie drafts, his ADP in startups. He's going to be a value for you, and you need to get in on him now before he starts to break.
I got a lot of McCaffrey. It was one of those, if you end up, what's going on, my man? Good to have you in the chat. If it's one of those that if you do your rookie draft like the day after the NFL draft or something like that, like I do in like all my leagues, it's like a whole, like I have like 25, 30 drafts all starting at once. He was one of those like glitches in the matrix. I mean, he was put way, 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 way down there, and he was a 3rd round pick, and he was just consistently available in the 4th. I got McCaffrey in the 5th round in certain drafts, and now people are like, oh, wait a minute, this guy was a 3rd round pick. Oh, wait. So yeah, you see that stock catching up, but yeah, I completely agree. Offense is going to be a lot better. Certainly very open after Terry McLaurin. I still have some little faith in Jahan Dotson, but McCaffrey, great pick, especially great value pick, and he's basically free.
I didn't mean to give Jahan Dotson short shrift. I think he's going to have a much better year this year. And it's not that I am a Sam Howell hater. I believe in last week's show we talked about Sam Howell, and I'm a big time Sam Howell stan. So that's not it. All right, you got another one.
Yes, once again, going through my Scott Fish Bull Leds, Jonathan Brooks was the RB24 in drafts. Now, it is a risky proposition. Coming off an ACL injury, we're going to see a slow start, I think. But at that range in the draft, at the end of the 7th round where he went, gosh, in Dynasty leagues, I think he could, he was the late 1st round pick, still had a rookie draft coming up. You could have some league winning upside at the end of the season here. We're talking about a guy who, one of the only players in that range who could end up, it wouldn't shock you to see him putting up top 10 weeks at the end of the season, consistent top 10 back. The offense is going to be better this year. It has to be better. There's nowhere to go but up. So Jonathan Brooks, I think that's a home run swing. It's a home run swing, so it's not somebody I'm taking in every draft I'm in, but I want some Jonathan Brooks exposure, especially around where he's going. I think he's going to, it may not be this year. It might be in the second half of the season, but Jonathan Brooks going to have some big games.
Yeah, my running back rankings took a big swing. They swung a lot after this draft. There were some profiles that I was targeting that looked brilliant, and then apparently the NFL didn't agree, and everything just got flipped on its head. For the last 3 years, Braylon Allen has been what should have been the RB1 in this class. He winds up as a 5th rounder. I said it before the draft, the Cowboys should make him the first running back off the board. You had Travion Henderson, who for some inexplicable reason didn't come out this year and could have been the RB1 in the class. But all those things being said, with the draft capital that he accrued, if Jonathan Brooks hadn't been injured, he would have ran away with the RB1 in this class. And we've seen guys come into the league with injuries. Brees Hall did it. I mean, he got hurt, but
Nick Chubb.
We've seen guys that they've recovered pretty quickly, and I like Jonathan Brooks. All right, we are going to finish up with a new segment we haven't done before. It might be a while before we do it again. We'll see. But the idea is essentially like, if you're a commissioner, if you run some leagues, there are some issues, there are some questions. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to hit the intro. We're going to talk about some commissioner issues. If you are a commissioner, go ahead and ask a question in the chat, and we will try and address it as well as we can. And if we're not getting any questions, we're just going to ad lib some standard commissioner issues. So here we go. Yeah. Okay. I am commissioner of quite a few leagues, and I love it. One of my favorite things is sending out or bringing in new owners to take over orphans. When I do that, I try as often as I can to create a dispersal draft. Don't let somebody come in and just like suddenly they're the owner of this team. Take all of the players and not all of the players in the league, but all of the players from the teams that need owners, and create a draft with the new owners and let them pick from those players.
I am a commissioner myself. I'm a commissioner of about 10 leagues, and I would not call it a love of doing that. I'll say that is me. I'm just like, gosh darn it, I hate being a commissioner. That's just, but I do try to do that as well, especially because there's probably, every year. I mean, I commission about 10 leagues, like I said. There's going to be somebody who leaves most of the leagues. There's going to be at least one person who departs each year, probably maybe even 2, 3, 4 would be like a mass exodus. But you know what? It just depends, because dispersal draft is always a good way to go, because they're going to have a team or two who they left because their team's horrible and they just don't want to deal with it anymore. But there's also probably going to be a guy who's just life is catching up to him. He's been a good player and he has a good team. So the dispersal draft is going to it's going to make things a little more even. And it's going to be a lot easier to fill that really bad team, because I've been there before where I've been like, all right, yeah, take that team if you want, take that team. And then I'm sitting there with this team that's just traded away all their first round picks, and they don't, and they have one good starter, and it just takes a while. You'll end up haggling with people. I've had to drop the price, so, there's going to be less of a pot the following year, because I've had to, be like, okay, this $100 league, you give me $25 just to take the team. That's fine this year. You know what I mean? So it'll save you a lot of trouble in the end. It's unforgiving being a commissioner. It's a lot of work, but you're the lifeblood of the Dynasty League, because a league without a good commissioner is going to fold. It is the easiest way for a league to fold, is having a bad commissioner. So anybody who's joining a Dynasty League, anybody who's thinking about, you want to make sure you have a great commissioner. Now, I've joined plenty of random sleeper leagues, just looking through the chat room. You find somebody, you join the league, and I've had a lot of it work out sometimes, but I've had it where it didn't work out times as well. So, keep that in mind. Try to find guys that you trust, try to be with your friends. It's a little bit easier. But yeah, you're going to want, and if you're looking for something, this commissioner needs to be active. He needs to be making sure rules are enforced and payments are in at a timely manner. People who are trading picks, he's getting those payments from those people. There's a lot of work that goes into it, so make sure you have a good one.
Yeah, I wound up with a league that had a couple people leave and then somebody that I had to kick out. And so to make it even, to create a 4-team dispersal, I threw my team in there. So I got to be a part of this draft. Now, this draft includes, it's a 2-quarterback league, so you have to start 2 quarterbacks. It's not a super flex. There's IDP involved, but it's running back premium. You get 0.25 per rush, plus the 1 point for rushing first down and the PPR for running backs. And I came out of that dispersal draft with Bijan and Brees to go with Dak and Jared Goff in a 6-point touchdown league. And I'm scared for what I'm going to do to other people. Rashad White and Alvin Kamara too. I'm really excited for this season to kick off, because I want to see that. All right, so with all of your commissioning, how do you deal with somebody who's, like, say in the chat, making inappropriate statements?
No, I'm not as a big of a placer of that as I should be. I have let fights go on, and kind of like I'll maybe try to lighten the mood a little bit, and I don't know if that's the way to do it. And that's how I've done it in the past, to try to get out the popcorn gift or something like that. Oh, you guys are arguing. It's certainly, I've seen just things spiral, and you know what I mean? It's fantasy football. So things shouldn't be like life or death or certainty too easy. But I've seen it where, these people are talking about fighting each other, and then this guy's like, I'm done. Like, I can't do it. I can't be in this league with this guy anymore. So I think it is like, hey guys, like, settle. Okay, go do whatever. I can't control your DMs or whatever, but keep it. Keep the drama. I think it's a good idea to keep a drama-free chat. So you know what? I've kind of changed my tune in the last year a little bit. I haven't dealt with too many fights in my leagues in the last year, but I think it's a good idea to simmer people down. If they want to DM each other, you can't help that. But, it causes a lot of drama.
I would much rather deal with that than deal with inactivity. It's fine if you want to be a jerk. Just be there.
There's a line, like, there's some banter. Some people can be a jerk. Like when it gets like, F you, just like it's there's a line, like, so there's some banter in there, and you can certainly start giggling at some people when they're like, I think, what are you doing? You don't even know how to draft. You're like, oh, okay.
Commissioning is fun, and we will be back with that segment, but likely when we start getting a little bit more push. This is the second episode. We're a work in progress. We're just starting out. So once we start getting like a bigger viewer base and everything, then those Q&As will start popping off. But I do want to shout out Jamie Pirog. I hope I'm saying that right. Is that like pierogi? And Chef TPTB for popping in and helping with the comments and everything. It does create content. It does make the time go faster, and it does make sure that we're not just sitting here blabbing and stuff. And Jack Sensen is in the building. What is up, Jack Straw? How are you doing? Great show. Thank you. And couldn't ask too many questions. We'll be back with you next week. I think we're rolling with the Wednesday 3:00 for now, and if you want to say anything to tell the viewers goodbye, go ahead.
I don't have much here, guys. I am going to be trying to go eat some lean protein here. Like I said, trying to get back in the gym. Going to be bringing some player profiler news stuff at you. Been working with Theo, maybe putting out some articles in the future as well. So we'll see you guys soon. Everybody in the chat. Jamie, I know we'll see you next week. Take it easy, everybody.
Yeah, eat that lean protein like sausages. Have a good week.